It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and this is your resource for all things housing here in the Low Country. We talk about buying, selling, investing in real estate. We talk a lot about the market, and this is a show focused on education, so that if you're thinking about doing something in real estate, or if you just like to stay up to date on our market, this is an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about what's going on in our market right now, so that you can make some informed decisions when it comes time to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So if at any point in time you guys would like to reach out to me, I've been doing this show for, I think 4 years now. I've been selling real estate for 10, and I share a lot of my experiences on this program. So if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I invite you to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. That's my personal cell phone number. And you can also go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And on that site, you can look at everything I have for sale, everything I've sold, search the entire MLS for anything for sale. And if you're thinking about selling your house, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. And you can also learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to for more information and resources. And if you want to catch previous editions of this show, you can click on the radio show tab and listen to the shows that we've populated on that website over the past several years. Let me give you an idea of what I want to talk about over the next hour. And it's going to be kind of an action-packed show because I've got a lot of material that I'd like to cover and a lot of good things that really correlate to this time of year. The first thing I'm going to talk about is just the generic market update. I do this once a month. We get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers with regards to our market, which I know a lot of people appreciate. So we're going to talk about what's going on with listings and sales and pricing. I'm going to break it down by county. And the thing that I'd like to say is that if you're thinking about selling your house or buying a house, please contact me through my website. I'm more than happy to provide you with an opinion of value at no cost or obligation. And we're going to talk a little bit more about shadow inventory and pocket listings and this large number of homes that are yet to hit the MLS, but that are able to be purchased. And I'm going to tell you more about that, what that means, and how to find them. A little bit later on in the program, we're going to talk about a survey that came out through the National Association of Realtors that really just talks about the behavior of buyers and sellers, mostly online, but it's going to revolve around education and understanding what people are looking for when they're searching for real estate, how they're searching for real estate, how they want to be communicated with, and how we turn that information and that activity into actual business for your home. And then lastly, we're going to talk about your investment strategy. We're going to get into some details after a conversation that I had with a seasoned investor and a little bit of a back and forth that we played, and just share some insight with you into that conversation. So that's what we're going to talk about over the next hour. Again, I invite you to give me a call if you want to talk about something off air, you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or you just have a general knowledge question. Call me at 843-345-1273, or again, go to listingsincharleston.com. So let me jump into this market overview, and I'm going to start first with just kind of where we are right now versus where we were February of 2015. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of what we look like as a market right now. So let's start first with new listings. And by the way, these are numbers through February. Obviously, we don't have March's numbers yet. But if you look at the number of new listings that we've had so far, we've had about a 12% increase in new listings hit the market. So far, we've year-to-date had about 3,700 homes hit the market. In February, we had almost 2,000 homes hit the market. So from February to February, this time last year, that's up 12%. Year-to-date, we're up 7%. Here's the interesting thing. Pending sales, properties that are under contract, getting ready to close right now. In February of 2015, we had 1,321 pending properties. Now, in February, we had 1,700. That's an increase of 28%. And year to date, we're about a 26% increase on pending sales. If you look at closings are up about 8%. We've already had over 2,000 closings in January and February. We're closing a little over 1,000 deals a month, which is a lot of activity. If you look at the days on market it's slightly down across the board. Tri-County area, we're looking at about 70 days on the market in order to sell your house. I'm going to get into the county statistics, and you'll see how that changes in just a minute. But if you look at the median sales price, this is an interesting thing to look at. In February of 2015, the median sales price was $212,000. As of February last month, we were at $237,000. That's an increase of 11%. Year to date, we're up about 7.5%. Now, I want to tell you something about price, and this is something that I've told people on this program over the past several years that this will never be a program designed to solicit business, or that the information that I provide will not be skewed because of the fact that I'm a real estate agent. This show is designed to tell you what to expect with regard to housing. So when we talk about things like price, and the reason I say this is because I received an email with a video from a popular real estate agent in town, and he was going over the same statistics that I'm going over now just by email because he doesn't have a radio show. But he was saying that, hey, prices are up 7% across the board. So that if that means last year your house was worth $300,000, now you're worth $321,000. And that is not true. That is not how this works. And I think that anybody listening that's intelligent can probably ascertain that. But it could be that your house is worth 10% more. It could be that it's, say, the exact same. It could be, and unfortunately in some areas I've seen this, that your house is actually worth slightly less than it was last year. So when it comes to price, and when it comes to any of these statistics for that matter, it's all area specific and price range specific. Sometimes it's so specific that it varies depending upon the street you live on. Look at the Old Village as an example, and the incredible variance that you see in pricing for something like a move-in ready house versus a home that is not livable in any way, shape, or form that needs to be bulldozed, and they're asking $700,000 for it. So pricing is incredibly important, and we're going to talk about that a little later on in this program. But when I tell you that prices are up 7% across the board, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic sign. Prices are actually up more than we thought they would be so far this year. We had very conservative estimates from all kinds of experts in this industry stating that we're probably looking at somewhere between 2 and as much as 5% appreciation across the board. And I was on that same page with them. However, when I look at the Charleston market and I look at the extreme lack of inventory that we have, prices are shooting up because of the demand among buyers. What helps is two basic things. Number one, interest rates still at or below 4% in most areas. And then number two, we have had 70 consecutive months of job growth in the private sector. People are making more money. They have more money to spend. They're in better situations financially. And that, of course, helps in all aspects, both top up and top down, or bottom up and then top down. You've got people that are now able to buy their first home. You have people that are now able to buy the second home for $1 million+ in Isle of Palms, downtown, wherever they want to go. But then the most impacted group of people are the people that now want to sell the house that they have purchased for profit and buy something else. We call those move-up buyers. And so I want to spend a little bit of time on months of inventory because that's what a lot of real estate agents are talking about right now. And so months of inventory simply means this. It takes the total number of listings available for sale and it divides it by the average number of home sales on a given month. As of right now, for single-family homes in the Tri-County area, we have 3.3 months of inventory. So let me tell you why that number is important. In a balanced, healthy market where prices are increasing in line with inflation to the tune of somewhere around 5% a year, you're looking at about 6 to 8 months worth of inventory. Anything lower than that, and it becomes a seller's market where you have low inventory and high demand among buyers. So low supply, high demand, that's what creates an increase in price. Simple economics. 3.3 months worth of inventory for single family homes simply means that if no other home came on the market as of today, it would only take 3 months to sell the entire inventory of homes we have for sale. So when we look at pricing and we look at all of these multiple offer situations that buyers are facing right now, how do we fix that? Well, new construction isn't the end-all be-all answer to that, because not everybody wants new construction. Not everybody wants to build a new home or buy something new. We live in a fantastic place where homes have character, and a lot of people want, anything from the late 1700s on up in terms of the year built and the character associated with it. So when we look at the month's supply of inventory, the way that we fix that is by having the people that are now interested in selling their house actually get on the market. You'd be surprised at the number of sellers out there with substantial amounts of equity that they don't even know they have because they haven't contacted a real estate agent or an appraiser to find out what their home is currently worth. I would be willing to bet for the people that are out there right now listening that are considering selling their house, that are looking at values in their neighborhood, the number is probably going to be a little higher than what they anticipate. Now, here's a caveat to that. In this type of market, when you have people that are listing their properties, they'll say something like this. This is the typical scenario. The neighbor's house goes on across the street, goes on the market, and let's say they're asking $400,000. And that house, on average, if that exact same house had been selling over the past 6 months in that neighborhood, let's say that the average sale was $385,000. Well, they want to list it for $400,000 because prices are increasing, and that's the smart thing to do in this market. You have the ability to do that within reason. But you see your neighbor's house go on the market for $400,000. You say, hey, I know that my house is nicer than theirs. I'm going to list mine for $415,000. And then you have another neighbor down the street say, well, I know my house is nicer than the one for $415,000. I'm going to ask $425,000. And so we get in this situation in these types of markets where overpriced listings create more overpriced listings. And as a buyer, because of the limited inventory, you're in a challenging position because based on what's sold recently, what they're asking for is just too much. However, sellers are in the driver's seat in this type of market. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a situation this week where we put a property on the market, and when we sat down with that seller, I said, guys, we are in a prime position to push the envelope with regard to price based on what you've done to your house. They did a very nice job with their house and the renovations they did. So I said, this is what I think we should list your house for. And I understand that that's higher than what's selling in this specific area. But just trust me on this one. I think we're still going to get the same amount of activity, and I'd be willing to bet that your house will sell in the next 30 days. Literally 2 days on market, 17 showing requests, multiple offers on the property. We are now selling it for more, $5,000 more, which it was a $270,000 house, $5,000 more than what we listed at, given the understanding that it was probably worth less than $270,000 based on recent sales. So I'm the first to raise my hand and say, hey, even this market will surprise me with regard to what buyers are willing to pay. But for the sellers that are listening out there, yes, we have an opportunity to push the envelope with regard to price, but it has to be subject to your tolerance for that amount of risk and whether or not you have to sell now and there's some sort of timing that's pushing that sale, or if you don't care if it takes 6 months to sell, you just want to sell it for a certain price. And that's what's the cause for deciding to move. So in this market right now, it's a fantastic opportunity to try and push the envelope with regard to price. If that's something you're considering, or if you want to know more about what your house is worth right now, again, I'm telling you, there are a lot of people out there that would be surprised at what a buyer is willing to pay for a home in this market. So I invite you to give me a call. If I can give you that information to help you in your decision-making process, I can be reached at 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about specific county statistics for our market, what's going on there, what you can expect. And then we're going to talk about a few other things. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks again for joining me. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, as we continue our discussion about housing here in the Low Country. Anything you need to know with regard to buying, selling, or investing in real estate can be found here on this program. And for those of you that tune in on a consistent basis, I really appreciate those of you that reach out to me, whether it be something simple that I can help you with or obviously something more complex, like helping you buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So if any point in time I can help you with something, please don't hesitate to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273, or you can find me on my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can look at everything I have for sale, everything I've sold, learn more about my team and I. And of course, if you're thinking about selling your house, which we're going to talk about right now, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission, or you can learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale. So again, listingsincharleston.com is the website to visit. Let me first read off these county-wide statistics because I know a lot of people rely on this information and they appreciate me reading this off. I think I'm the only person that does this on the radio. So let me give you this information. Let's start first with Dorchester County. And I'm going to read the year-to-date statistics, and I'm also going to read the month-to-month statistics. So let's start with the year-to-date statistics, and I'm going to read off single-family detached statistics only. If you have a condo or a townhome, contact me, and I'll tell you what's going on in your neck of the woods. So let's talk about Dorchester County first. If we look at new listings, we've had 555 new listings as of the end of February. That's up about 2% from last year. If you look at the closings, we've had 302 closings so far in Dorchester County. That's up 5%. Median sales price is up 3.5%. You can expect to get about 96% of your asking price if you're going to sell a single-family home in Dorchester County. And as of right now, the average days on market is 72 days, which is down from 76 this same amount of time in 2015. So that's what's going on in Dorchester County. Let me move over to Berkeley County. A little bit more of a variance here. So new listings in Berkeley County are up 5%. Closings are up 9%. We've had 448 properties close as of the end of February in Berkeley County. The median sales price is up 10%. Now, again, that's for a sample size of less than 500 homes, so let's not read too much into that. However, if you were looking at properties last year in Berkeley County, prices are up about 10% above where they were, and that's a real statistic to hang your hat on, because for anybody looking at buying real estate right now, especially those that were like, you know what, we're just not ready, let's rent for a little while, we'll try this again next year. Maybe you guys didn't find what you were looking for, or maybe your situation changed and it delayed things for you. Well, unfortunately, real estate is now more expensive than it was last year. Just like last year, real estate was more expensive than it was in 2014. Same thing applies to 2013 and so on and so forth. We've seen a big number associated with appreciation in properties across the Tri-County area, and that holds true for Berkeley County as well. Now, if you're thinking about selling your house, you can expect to get about 97% of your asking price, and your home is going to sell in 58 days on average. That's down from 69 days in 2015. Now, Charleston County is where we have the majority of our sales in the Tri-County area. It's really what we use for kind of market-wide statistics. But within Charleston County, you have all different kinds of properties. You know, you've got the historic properties and beachfront and waterfront and single family and everything in between. You can find a huge variety of properties in Charleston County, which can at times skew to statistics, which is why I say don't just rely on the statistics that I'm reading off to you for the entire county and apply it to your home. If you want to know what your home is worth, it's as simple as going on my website, typing in your address, and then through tax records and sales of recent property, I'll tell you what your house is worth and what you can expect to sell it for. But the more information, the better. You know, tell me what's going on with regard to your upgrades. What does your kitchen look like? What kind of condition is it in? And from there, I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've sold about 1,000 homes between my team and I. So we can get pretty darn close to what your house is worth. But if you want a more accurate number, of course, we want to come by and walk through it and learn more about it. But if we look at Charleston County, we've had 1,500 new listings hit the market since the end of February. That's up 14%, but closings are up 7% from last year. And we were hot out of the gate in 2015, so that's actually saying a lot for Charleston County. Median sales price really hasn't changed that much. It's up about 3.4% is what the statistic says. If you're going to sell your house in Charleston County, expect 95% of your asking price, and it's going to sell within 68 days. Now, again, another caveat to that. certain areas of Mount Pleasant, you're going to get close to 100% of your asking price if you price it correctly, and it's going to sell in 30 days or less. It's neighborhood by neighborhood, and like I said earlier, in many cases, it's street by street. So that's just the stats in general. That's what's going on with the market. Challenging if you're a buyer and investor, fantastic if you're a seller. So the benefit, of course, would be to sell your house, take advantage of that appreciation, and then when you buy something, you're buying with low interest rates. Yes, the prices are high right now, but there's not much we can do to control that. We can try and get you the best deal possible, of course, but the day and age of buying something for 10, 20, 30% below fair market value, not their asking price, but fair market value, just ain't going to happen unless there's some sort of extreme distress situation that we find the sellers in that we can exploit for a really good deal on something. But that's what's going on in our market right now. And as I said earlier, these statistics are fun to read off, but you need to take them with a grain of salt. You have to understand what's going on in your specific area, in your specific price range. And if you want that information, I'm happy to provide it to you at no cost or obligation. Just go to listingsincharleston.com or give me a call, 843-345-1273. Now, I want to switch gears and I want to talk about if you're a buyer right now, with the understanding that we have about 3 months worth of inventory, which is one of the lowest numbers I've ever seen in doing this for the past decade. We just have a serious inventory issue. And so there's something that not a lot of buyers know about or understand fully. And that's something I want to explain to you. And that's these coming soon listings or the shadow inventory that's out there. And it's basically this. So all agents, of course, communicate with sellers, and they have their own time frame as to when they want to go on the market. And so usually you'll have listing agents sign listing agreements, and then there will be this lag time between the time the agreement is signed and the time that property actually hits the market. Now, the really good agents are out there promoting the property before it hits the MLS, but there are a ton of agents out there. I'm going to say the majority of agents out there, quite frankly, that do nothing to the property before it hits the MLS. They rely on the MLS as their major marketing tool. Hey, I'm going to put it on the MLS for all the other agents to see, and it'll go on every single company website and agent website. And by the way, that happens regardless of who you choose to hire to sell your house. Once that property goes in the MLS, it is automatically on every single real estate company website and every single real estate agent's personal website, assuming they have that functionality and capability on their own website. From there, it's going to go to websites like Realtor.com, and then maybe Zillow and Trulia and Homes.com and Realestate.com and all of these other websites that buyers use to search for properties on their own, regardless of whether they're working with an agent or not. Now, you have some of these websites that have now come up with a coming soon section, and that's a fantastic place to go if you're a buyer and you have a very specific criteria, or you're just looking in an area where homes sell in a few days. And there are so many of those areas in Charleston right now. So if you're looking for properties outside of what your agent is sending you or what you can find by going on, some of these websites, look at the coming soon section of these websites. The great thing about, so let me tell you the pros and cons here really quickly. So the pro, of course, is that you could market your prop. If you're a seller, you could market your property for sale while you're doing some repairs or while you're waiting for a tenant to vacate the property. And it allows the agent to create some excitement about your property before it hits the MLS. There's also some exclusiveness and a little bit of motivation that it creates, because when someone sees that kind of listing, they have to go through the listing agent. It's not on the MLS. It's not like that information is readily available if that buyer is working with a real estate agent. So the nice thing for you as a seller is that you could potentially sell your house without the hassle of a ton of showings from unqualified buyers working with real estate agents. They have to come to you to get the information is the point. Now, a con to doing a pocket listing or a coming soon listing is that, of course, it restricts the marketing that we're able to do. It's not a full-blown marketing plan. So you're not on the MLS. You're not able to rely on the fact that agents are searching the MLS looking for properties for their buyers. So it is limited in terms of the exposure that you create, but it's a very specific type of marketing that you can do to create some initial excitement about the property. And I've been doing coming soon marketing for a few years now, and I can tell you that I have sold a ton of properties before they hit the MLS because of what we do behind the scenes to create that interest. You know, if buyers are, so let's say you're a buyer and you're out there and you drive by a property and you see a yard sign and it says coming soon. So you go online and you try and find it on the MLS, can't find it. And what do you do next? You call the listing agent. They say, yeah, well, it's not actually on the market right now. We are marketing it for sale and it can be sold. And if you're really serious about looking at it right now, we have the opportunity to sell it to you right now. But the seller's just not ready for showings from everybody with a real estate license just yet. And so it's a really nice way of motivating a buyer to say, hey, you can look at it right now. And if you're interested, make an offer before it becomes public knowledge. Obviously, the con is that your net has not been cast as wide as it can be when you do a full-blown marketing plan. The other thing that you have to understand is that if a real estate agent is a realtor, which requires a membership, then we have to adhere to the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. And it's an important consideration for us when we advertise properties as coming soon. For us as realtors, we have to remember that we have to promote and protect the interest of our client. And we have to present a true picture of the advertising and marketing and the other representations of their property, and to make it available to other brokers to show it. At the end of the day, it's about promoting the seller's best interest. And so for agents out there that say, hey, I only want to do a pocket listing for your house, so that agent is in charge of the process from start to finish and everybody has to go through him, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, so long as you, the seller, understand that it is not a full-blown marketing package. There is limited exposure that it creates. For me, I do coming soon marketing on every single listing I take because there is always lag time between the day that we sign the agreement and the day that we have the professional photographer out to the property to photograph it and edit the photos and get our description and information together, so that once it goes on the market, we're setting that right first impression. I will never put a property on the market that's not ready to be put on the market and then filter in pieces of information over the course of the next week. That first day that it hits the market could be the most important day because that's when everybody sees it for the first time as a new listing. So pocket listings are great. If you're a buyer, you can find them by looking at yard signs and coming soon listings on Zillow and other websites. You can contact agents directly. You know, sometimes they appear in magazines and newspapers, but that's pretty rare because most agents don't spend that kind of money on marketing. We do, but it's just a different approach that we take, of course. But for buyers that are out there looking, contact me. I have sellers right now that are ready to list from a week to 6 weeks from now. And I have some that are several months out that want to try this before they put it in the MLS. Same thing goes with sellers. If you're thinking about putting your property on the market, we have a slew of buyers that are looking for things right now that can't find what they're looking for. So why not put their search criteria together and put it in front of you and see if it makes sense? So I've had really good success over the past few years in matching up buyers and sellers with properties and with their needs and their timeline before it even hit the MLS. And it's a nice way of just saying, let's make things kind of easy on one another. So if I can provide you with more information on that, please contact me. My number is 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. If you go to listingsincharleston.com and you're thinking about selling your house and you want to know about our buyer inventory, then just click on the contact tab and tell me what you're selling and give me as much information as you'd like to share. And then I'll tell you what we have and whether or not we can help you now or at some point in the future. So listingsincharleston.com or 843-345-1273. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about your investment strategy as well as understanding online marketing. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks again as we continue our discussion on housing. We're going to dive now into a survey that came out from the National Association of Realtors, and it's a generational survey that looked mostly at millennials. And for me, when I list a property, most of my conversations with sellers revolve around education first, especially when it comes to marketing their property and how we both find and interact with prospective buyers for their house. We discuss things like how they search for real estate and what kind of information they're looking for and how do they want to be communicated with and why it's important for us to know that. Ultimately, a seller's just hiring us to sell their house. That's the bottom line. I get that. And some really care about the specifics and they really appreciate that. Others are just like, hey, I just want you to get the job done. I know you can do it. Just do it. But for me, it's important for the seller to understand how the market and the marketing has changed since the last time they bought or sold something. So let's say that they're in their 40s and they bought their house 10 years ago and now they're ready to move into something larger. Well, I want to explain to them the dynamics of the current market. And the only reason I want to do that is to set some proper expectations. One of the things we need to be aware of is who is the prospective buyer for this house and what are they looking for and how do we find them? Nothing is worse than signing an agreement with a real estate agent and then having to ask them 60 days later when your house isn't sold. So what is it exactly that you're doing to help me sell my house? It's kind of it's what I call the what have you done for me lately conversation. And so let me go through this survey because I think that it's really it's important for us to understand the types of buyers that are out there, who represents the market right now. And of course, the thing that I'll say as kind of a caveat is that your location, your price range, the type of home you're selling, the bedrooms, bathrooms, everything within it is going to appeal to somebody and it's going to not appeal to somebody. For me, my job is to market your home effectively in a professional way, provide the information for them to make an informed decision, and then most importantly, and I say this to all my sellers, I always say, look, I could pay for all of the marketing in the world, but if I'm the kind of agent that doesn't answer my phone or respond to emails or text quickly, or if I can't speak intelligently about the market or a piece of property to a prospective buyer, we have lost that opportunity and they are going to go somewhere else. So it's not just about the marketing. It's about understanding prospective buyers, how to communicate with them, and how to turn their initial interest into real business for our clients. So let me skip over to this survey, and it really talks mostly about millennials, and it says that, for them, obviously limited inventory and, higher prices and a low number of entry-level condo construction and affordable pricing puts pressure on them. It's just hard for them to find properties that fit their budget. But what's interesting, and what I'm willing to bet not a lot of people know, is that for the third straight year, the largest group of recent buyers were millennials. They composed 35% of the market. They were at 32% of the market in 2014. And they have on average, let's say they're about 30 years old. Well, the Gen X represented 26% of buyers. So the majority of the buyers that are out there are millennials, but here's the problem. They are struggling right now. They are struggling with debt, mostly student debt. But here's something else that I think is very interesting, is that if you look at the Gen X group of buyers out there, the people that can sell and then buy something else, what's interesting is that over the past several years, it seems as though they may have sat out on the opportunity to buy something because they were unwilling to invest in the market, so they preferred to pay down debt. The other thing that's happened is that Gen Xers have now accrued debt for the sake of putting their kids through college. So it's not just the millennials that are inheriting all of this debt. It's also the Gen Xers. And so that's kind of what's putting a halt on our ability to add new inventory to the market. As I said earlier, it can't just be solved by new construction. It has to be also solved by people that own their home that are now ready to sell. Having said that, they have to be in a position financially to do so. And so if we look at some of the characteristics of sellers, it says that millennials, whom are now also likely to be move-up buyers that purchased over the past several years, are staying in their home on average about 5 years. It used to be that the number was 10, and then it was 8 and 7, and now it's 5. And, for a lot of people, let's use that 5-year statistic. If they bought 5 years ago at the very bottom of the market, they should have a good amount of equity. Now, assuming they've done something with their debt, they should be in a fantastic position to sell and buy. And so that's why I'm a bit surprised that we haven't seen this leap yet in inventory. We talked about the month supply of inventory and how much of an issue it is and how hard it is for buyers to find something affordable right now, especially among millennials, because I think the statistic states that millennial on average makes about $70,000 a year, and the home that they're buying on average was about $190,000. If you're looking in Charleston County, it's pretty darn hard to find something in that price range that looks good. If you're looking in Mount Pleasant, good luck to you. You're looking at condos and townhomes at that point. But that's why, we've got all this new construction in Berkeley County and Dorchester County. But a lot of that new construction is catering to kind of that middle class move up buyer, because builders understand that millennials are in trouble financially. They're still struggling with this debt and the ability to get out of it and afford not only the payment, but save enough money for a down payment. So when I talk about these kinds of statistics and I share stories like this with you, the thing that I'm trying to impress upon you is that when you're looking at selling your house, and I'm going to cater this to sellers for just a moment. When you're thinking about selling your house, it's important to think about not just what you're selling and the bedrooms and the bathrooms and the square footage and all the great features of your home, but it's also important to understand who you're marketing the property to and how they're going to find it and how they want to communicate with you. I mean, I coach my agents on this all the time. If someone doesn't answer the phone, but they text you back, they want to have a conversation by text first. Most people, especially millennials, do not want to chat with you over the phone. In fact, a lot of us have gotten away from that, quite frankly. Most people don't want to pick up the phone and talk. They want to email or text, and that's just the way it is. So for us, when we market properties for sale, almost everything that we do and the time and energy and resources that we pay for to market properties is done online, because that's just the preference of the majority of buyers out there. Now, of course, we use print advertising, and I have 2 people on my team full-time that their only job is to pick up the phone and call people and call neighbors and call databases and call agents and call whoever will answer the phone to talk about real estate. But it's just important for me to impress upon you that don't just look at the house that you're selling. Understand how to cater to the people that inevitably will buy it, how to communicate with them, share the information with them, and excite them about the property. It's not just about providing the information. It's about converting the initial interest into actual business. So I could talk with you more about that. If you want to reach out to me, my number is 843-345-1273 if you're thinking about selling your house, or go to listingsincharleston.com. Remember to click on that Sell Your Home tab, and you can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about your investment strategy and what you need to know. All this and more as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I want to finish our discussion by talking about your investment strategy. I was having a conversation with an investor, and it kind of got into a deeper discussion about just the strategy and the way in which people look at investments in general. And what I was telling him is that, if you think about it this way, most people use what I call the any benefit approach to support their everyday decisions in life, which basically states that you're justified in using some sort of tool in your life if you can identify any possible benefit to its use whatsoever, or anything that you might possibly miss out on if you don't use it, like Facebook or Twitter, or like an organizational app on your phone or something like that. And that people today are people are just hyper connected to all kinds of things that continuously distract them. So we were kind of talking about that, and then I applied it to investors in that if you think about long-term investors, several of them succumb to this kind of shiny strategy syndrome where it's almost like the any benefit approach. If you think about it this way, a long-term investor that's after rental income and properties that he can own free and clear for the benefit of his retirement might get distracted by doing something like flipping real estate for the opportunity to make quick money, despite the fact that that might not be an appropriate tool for his investment goals. So what we discussed is that when you're adopting an investment strategy that isn't aligned with your goals, the cost can be fairly devastating for one of two reasons. Number one is a loss of focus. The investment population overall, I could define into two different groups. The sporadic group, which is the I'll do anything for a profit, and the deliberate group, which is the people that execute their plan despite those external impulses. So sporadic investors typically make good investments, but in the large scheme of things, those investments don't necessarily change their life. So in other words, let's say that you buy a few investment properties and you buy them for $100,000, you sell them for $175,000, and after repairs and commissions and Uncle Sam takes his cut, you make $20,000 a piece. And that happens 2 or 3 times over the next 2 to 3 years. Is it worth it? Yes. But at what cost? It's not necessary. It will not, let's put it this way, it will not produce a stream of income that allows you to live the life you want. So deliberate plan investors that make a plan are fueled by their goals, and they don't allow themselves to be distracted by those shiny objects, because their ultimate goal in many cases is, hey, I want to have a 6-figure income from positive cash flow from free and clear real estate that's worth a couple $1,000,000 that I purchased throughout the course of my life. I can tell you that that's how my family made a lot of money in real estate, buying and holding. Yeah, they did some flips, and I have too, but I buy and hold real estate whenever I have cash because that's my investment strategy. I want that to be income for myself and my family, and I want it to have a net worth of several times what I paid for it, and so that over time, as renters essentially pay my mortgage, I'll own that property free and clear. But the other thing they fail to look at is the true cost associated with going toward that shiny object strategy. So for most investors, they look exclusively at the benefit of doing something rather than the negative consequence or the opportunity cost or the time value of money. So when you look at deciding to dabble in a different strategy in real estate because of a benefit you're expecting, profit from a flip as an example, you have to count the cost. If your capital is tied up and you miss out on an opportunity to buy a fantastic rental property that's more in line with your investment strategy, how much has that actually cost you? How much has that cost you in rental income over the years? Is it a few $100,000? Does that mean that you now have to work for an extra year in order to retire? You have to take all of those things into consideration. And so the point of my conversation with you is that when I was talking with this investor, he was having a difficult time defining what his strategy was. So we put it down on paper and we said, what is it that you want? When do you want it by? And what can we do realistically to accomplish that? How do we reverse engineer your end goal to get you there? And so for a lot of people that I talk with that want to earn money through the purchase and sale of real estate, I sit down with them and I have a very specific conversation with them because it's something that I've helped a lot of people do successfully. I've also helped a lot of people get out of really bad situations when our market was bad, that went too hard, too fast, invested more than they could afford, and they ended up losing everything. And so I don't want that to happen to anybody that works with me. And as a result of all the stuff we've been through in our market, I'm a conservative investor. Don't get me wrong, I'll take risk when I think it's appropriate, but my long-term strategy is to accrue properties for the sake of consistent cash flow with ultimately properties that will be worth several times what I paid for them free and clear because those renters are paying my mortgage if I choose to take out a mortgage at all. So if you'd like more information about investing in real estate, it's something people are talking a lot about right now. Let's just make sure that you have a firm strategy in place so that you're not being attracted by those shiny objects and you really understand what you're doing. So if I can help in any way, shape, or form with investing or, of course, buying and selling real estate, please call me at 843-345-1273 or go to listingsincharleston.com. Thanks a lot, Charleston. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thanks for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. This is the Low Country's official station for Decision 2016. WTMA.